Right.
Where are you?
In Valhalla, New York.
Okay. Okay. I'm not sure where that is.
All right. Well, I'll tell you about that. All right. So we
Okay.
are live. This is BizDev Live. BizD with the C. So excited to bring you today Oz du Soleil. He is an Excel MVP, most valuable professional, not an easy distinction to get. We're going to talk about his background. We were just going through it. There's a lot going to be packed in today, and I'm excited to get into it. So stay with me. I'll be right back after the BizDev theme.
BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T.
YouTube sensation Oz du Soleil is an Excel master teacher with style. You can subscribe to his YouTube channel, Excel on Fire. Oz du Soleil is a Microsoft Excel MVP, YouTube creator at Excel on Fire, and a storyteller out of Portland, Oregon. Oz is known for his colorful and fierce commitment to empowering people who don't have an IT team or the skill set to manage their own data. People are known to appreciate that Oz goes deeper than Excel tips and tricks and gets into the when, why, and what if, not just the how. Thanks so much for being with me, Oz.
Hey, thanks, Cameron. Thanks for being here. Yeah, thanks for inviting me. See, it's 8 o'clock in the morning here on the West Coast.
No, and I appreciate you. I
Yeah,
appreciate you so much for doing this for me.
yeah. Been up all night watching this election come in and all the election stuff, But yeah, I'm glad to be here talking about whatever we talk about today. Oh, and people get to ask questions, because this is live.
That's correct. People
Yeah,
can ask
okay.
questions and comments, and we may have some of those pop up. But I know we got a lot to talk about, so I want to dig right in. So tell us. I know I kind of gave the sort of spiel here. You're doing Excel TV. You have the YouTube channel, Excel on Fire. I discovered you actually with LinkedIn Premium. You get this great education, which not a lot of people, I think, necessarily know about or take advantage of. I know I don't take advantage of it enough, but you have an amazing class teaching lots of different things on Excel in LinkedIn. So talk to us a little bit about what you're doing now, and then we're going to delve into your deep history here.
Wow. Well, what I'm doing now is I just recorded a couple new courses for LinkedIn. They should be coming out soon. I have a couple of weekly challenges that come out. One is more advanced, and that comes out every Monday or every other Monday. And then there is one for beginners and intermediates that comes out every Friday. And it really stretches what people learn about Excel. It's designed to get people thinking. And it's not just standalone tips and tricks that happen there. It's really, let's think about what's happening in real world situations. And right now I'm writing an Excel article. It's for Excel for managers. So that's being pitched for people who may not do Excel, but they rely on other people's Excel work. So how can they penetrate something that they don't fully understand?
I love
And
that.
yeah, it's exciting. Um, and I'm here in Portland, Oregon, uh, dealing with this quarantine. Occasionally, I get to go out and meet friends at a cigar lounge and talk and be social because that's really needed right now.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a deep hunger as things get settled out here for
Yeah.
getting together and engaging in a way that we're used to and not been able to for such a long while. I want to get into your history. I want to make sure that we talk about it. So talk to me. I mean, I know you got a ton of education behind you. I don't know how far back you want to go, but share us, what has made the Oz in terms of, your style, your profile, your experience, why you're such a deeply talented, not only somebody that knows Excel really well, but it's a dry topic and you bring a lot of life and personality to it. You have an exploding YouTube channel, which is amazing. On Excel, I talk to people a lot about the fact that you can do whatever your thing is on social media and there's going to be a following for it. Obviously, Excel is hugely important. So somebody could look at your success and say, oh, well, of course, because it's Excel and he's knowledgeable about it. But it is not easy putting together a YouTube channel and getting a following going. And you've done that.
Well, so my education is a lot, right? But I immediately think about my mother when we were growing up in this housing project outside of Chicago. And if I would ask her a question, she would always ask me back, did you try to look it up? We had World Book Encyclopedia upstairs. It's like 26 books, and I don't know how many people remember those. People my age remember them, where some guy would come and pitch you on buying these encyclopedias, but we had them and they were in my bedroom. And I asked my mother a question. She, did you try to look it up? I got to go try to look up the answer before I come back and ask my mother. And then there were times where I'd be bored and I would just go randomly grab a book and open it up. Oh, vicuñas, they're like llamas. Okay, it's pretty cool. All right, let's go look. Dogs, all these breeds of dogs, all kinds of things. The world was suddenly much bigger than this housing project. And then that gave me a curiosity that I still appreciate and use. But then that thought leads me to when I joined the Navy and I saw Venus de Milo. I went to the Louvre. The submarine had pulled into Toulon, France, and then I took a TGV train into Paris and went to the Louvre. I turned the corner and there was Venus de Milo. And man, it gave me a chill because I could remember being a little kid seeing Venus de Milo in some picture in the World Book Encyclopedia that was this big. And there it was. Man. So then this world was suddenly smaller and accessible. So I've always had this genuine fascination for things. And so after the Navy, I finished my bachelor's degree, got a degree in philosophy, but I took mostly logic classes or reasoning classes. Throughout college, I took a lot of algebra and eventually got to second semester calculus. That's helped a lot. So when folks say, what is algebra for? When am I ever going to use this? Well, it's helped me a lot in how to think, like word problems. If a man is running this direction at this angle and how fast is he approaching this other thing, you got to be able to distill that. And
just to add a little bit of context, because I love these. I was meeting with a supermarket chain, and I had noticed that the woman that was in charge of the operation, she had an engineering degree and background. Mm-hmm. And I sort of naively, I kind of think, I was like, why are you messing with this, supermarket thing? You could be an engineer. And, of course, she's running stuff. It's a multiple chain, kind of supermarket. She said, I use engineering every single day.
Yeah. And I use algebra in some form every day, whether it's writing an Excel formula or just thinking about how the hell am I going to model something in Excel, because I talk with a client who says, okay, so my clients have to pay this rate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's simple multiplication. But if they start in the middle of a cycle, then we got to prorate it. And we have to prorate what they came in with, and they pay the full rate for what they got while they were with us. And if they leave at the end of a cycle, then they just leave. But if they leave in the middle of a cycle, then that's got to be prorated too. I'm glad I studied algebra so that I could start peeling that down, putting the pieces in place, and then testing this for my client.
So talk to me a little bit about, because you talked about your education. I know we were going through before we jumped on. You did a lot of education. I'm assuming the Navy came before a lot of the education.
Yeah.
And what was the decision? Get in the Navy. How did you come out of the Navy and then pursue? Because I mean, I imagine not every single person's dream is to go from the Navy to a whole bunch of education. So what was the kind of the thinking and reasoning? What was the world looking like for you when you were making those decisions?
When I was making a decision to join the Navy,
sure.
I was in this small town that didn't have much opportunities. And I was looking at, I was 20 years old. I wanted to.
Were you still in Chicago?
In the suburbs, near Waukegan, Illinois. Yeah. So there wasn't much opportunity. And, to go to Dunkin' Donuts to apply for a job, there's fill out the application and go around interviewing only to get told no, because I would go to pet shops and different things and hell, but there were recruiters downtown Waukegan. Yeah, come on in. Not a whole bunch of dancing around. So I went to the recruiter one day, and a week later I was in boot camp, and finally went to sea as a quartermaster, which meant navigation. And when I first reported to the submarine, there was this guy, Petty Officer Orr. He looked at me one day and he says, "Man, save your money and get out when you can." And the look in his face and his voice, it struck me, it stuck inside of me. And then as I would go through my time in the Navy, I would see more and more guys who they hated the Navy. They wanted to get out, but they hadn't saved any money, or they started a family. All kind of things that kept them from getting out. Now, having a full Navy career is great, and I know folks who've retired. Guys I was in the Navy with, they've retired now. That's a great thing. But I had the option, whereas a lot of these guys didn't. So I appreciate Petty Officer Orr for saying that to me, because I did have some money when my time was coming up, and I took the option to get out. And that's where I went and finished my bachelor's degree. And then I went to graduate school to study public policy, something that I probably shouldn't have done, because I loved philosophy and working out problems, ideas that go for centuries. But then public policy was more alliances, funding, pragmatic, no room for idealism. There's nothing that's going to go on for centuries. No, we got to do some stuff. I hated it. And then there were a few years where I did a whole lot of different things, and wound up as a commissions analyst for a while, and that was great. And that was where a lot of my Excel skill came. Yeah. And
so you were doing that for a financial company?
Yeah. But what they did was they taught taught people. They provided the books and the classes for people who wanted a securities or an insurance license.
Okay, so they were doing
Right.
Kaplan education,
Yep.
financials. Yeah, all right,
Yep.
very cool.
Yep.
And then
Exactly.
talk to us how you made the shift, because obviously being a quartermaster, you're doing the navigation stuff. That is a lot of, I would imagine that's math heavy. There was a reason you were in that role.
It there is some math. It's not math heavy, but there is a lot of thinking that is involved, because we're going across the ocean and we can't just plot a straight line across because the earth is curved. So we have to do what's called great circle navigation and have kind of an arc to allow for the curvature of the earth. And then while we're following that, there's winds and there's currents and there's storms and all kinds of stuff that we have to allow for, because we'll get a plan of intended motion from the Pentagon. So they say, okay, you're supposed to be right here on this day and time, but you can be 5 miles behind it, 10 miles ahead, or 3 miles either side. And so now I've got to get the ship to where we're going and stay inside that moving haven, and also account for the winds and currents. But
So that's incredible.
but more of that was, and I'm glad you're asking me about this, because I think about being an analyst, right? Because there is confidence, and not bullshitting people kind of confidence, but truly like the captain
You
comes.
have to make a decision. You're in charge
Well,
of where it lies. Yeah.
well, yes, my decisions are limited, but the thing is, my job is navigation. If the officer of the deck comes and asks me, where are we? If the captain comes up on the bridge and asks, where are we? I have to be, we are right here, and the direction of the current is this, the winds are doing that, and we're steering this course at this speed. Boom, say that confidently. Don't get up there and start calculating it and trying to show him and everything. No, he's gone, and then he's gonna go tell somebody, get him out of here.
Yeah, you have to be credible. I just did a show on this the other day that you're being able to clearly state what you want, not fidgeting about, not say, oh, where are we? And you start looking
right,
trying to figure it out in the moment, knowing in the moment, hey, this is where we go. So you go from the Navy, you went to study.
But can I say also how what you had me think about is what it takes to be a good analyst, because a lot of times the Excel stuff is easy. The hard part is, here's the data you requested. Can I trust this? Well, how do you know? I figured the numbers would be twice what you're showing me here. Are you sure? And being able to not only confidently say, yes, I'm sure, when I'm sure, because there are times where I have to say, this is what I have right now. And then there is a bunch of murky data that could affect this. I'm not sure, but it's going to take some time to clean up.
Right.
But you've got this meeting in a half hour, and this is what I have right now. This portion that I can trust, this murky stuff, I don't know about yet. But to say it confidently like that.
Yeah, I think that's key. Those pieces of your life that give you confidence for those other steps. I definitely have that in my story. So I definitely appreciate hearing it in somebody else's, where you do that one thing and it's sort of like, that's why I was able to do this over here and do that well over here. Right.
Yeah.
So talk to us, because we're talking about, you got this Navy experience, come out, you're doing education. Now you wind up a few years later doing improv, right? Second City Training Center in Chicago. Talk to us about that.
Well, I had started teaching Excel classes, and I liked it, and the students liked me. But I wanted to see how I can improve. And I did some stuff with a like public speaking coach, and I didn't like it at all because we talked about my hands in my pockets, where I stared off into space. And then I started to watch people that I liked, their presentation styles. And then I saw consistently they had improv or some kind of formal training of stand up in their background. Ah,
Mm.
okay. And then I found out that Second City gave courses to the public. I had heard of Second City. I had walked past Second City, but I thought that was a place for Tina Fey.
Right. Somebody going
Right,
to be on
right,
SNL or live.
right. And that wasn't me, right? But then I found out, yep, they do give courses to the public. And I was in classes with people who wanted to get into the conservatory. And that is where people go when they do want to go on SNL or make a living in improv or comedy. Uh, so there's 5 levels of improv. I did 4 because I started planning my move to Portland. So I did the 4 levels of improv, 2 stand-up classes, and 1 storytelling workshop. And then I got in my car and moved to Portland. But yeah, that year of
So you
work
spent a lot of
at
time in Chicago. What was behind
yeah,
the move going out west?
I wanted a slower life at that point in my life,
Yeah, yeah.
right? But 15 years prior, I would not have had any patience for Portland. I wanted Chicago, I wanted Manhattan, but right now I am loving Portland.
You know, Portland's
But
a beautiful city. My mother
yeah,
lives over in Vancouver, Washington.
oh,
So
okay, across the
me and my wife
bridge.
and the kids have definitely visited
Yeah,
Portland, and
yeah,
it's gorgeous.
yeah, yeah. But that year at Second City was huge. It's given me a lot. I am constantly uh, pulling things that I learned from that year. You know, even
I think
yeah,
folks would be hesitant to take that step, you know, very much to like what you were saying. Well, I'm not trying to be a comedian. So
right,
how has this helped you, you know, now as you're, I mean, because you're doing, I mean, you're doing so much on video, and I talk about all this time. So I think this is extremely relevant to folks. I think people need to think of themselves as a media company, even if they're not
mhm,
necessarily a teacher in their business. Maybe they're a coach, maybe they're a small business that, you know, wants to advertise more, but having that video presence, whether you're putting yourself on the video or somebody else, but ideally, you know, you are your brand in a lot of respects,
mhm,
especially for a small business entrepreneur, and gaining a following and having people understand who you are
yeah,
gives you better credibility and authenticity. So how has
yeah.
Second Stage and that improv experience, or Second City, sorry, Second City, giving you that sort of confidence and ability? And certainly, I mean, you're living the success of it. You got a ton
Right.
of followers and subscribers on YouTube. So talk to us about that.
So there is, first of all, letting go. Just if I pick something for a video, just go all the way in.
Mm.
Don't be half in and half apologizing that it not might not be going so well. You know,
Yeah, you see
like
that all the time. Yeah,
yeah,
you don't get on your video, especially your one video that you're doing. I'm sorry I haven't posted. You know,
right,
it's been a
right.
while. I'm so sorry. Wish this was better. Just
Well,
go.
and then but then there's like showing a discomfort, right? Versus completely owning it.
Right.
Like if I decide, all right, I'm gonna show something from that I learned in Excel, and I felt excited when I did it. Yeah, all right, so that's gonna be my vibe for this video. And now so open up. Hey, are you ready for this? Because this is gonna be a killer thing that I got to show you. Are you ready for this? Because if you are not, you're gonna be in trouble. All right, for those who are ready, come on, come on. right? So that's a character. That's owning it. And it could be like it could be it could turn into where would it be wrong? Let me see if I could do it. Hey, I'm gonna show you something, but like I'm not owning it. I'm not in it. I'm
Yes.
thinking too much. Right. I'm thinking, am I selling this? I'm trying to be funny, and it's coming off as that friend who's trying too hard to be liked. Right. That people feel that. And so doing character work is not about coming up with something phony. But if I do pick something, go all the way into it. So that's what helps with the videos. It also helps, say, if I'm not in a mood to be teaching or to be in front of people, I have to find that genuine character and own it. That's what we do in improv. Whenever we hit the stage, whenever we're in front of people, that is a performance, and we have
One
to
thing
be
that stands
present.
I was going to say one thing that stands out to you too, and sort of being in the moment. Sometimes a costume, and I'm going to say costume because normally I would say uniform, whatever your uniform for whatever you do is, but we're going to say costume and the idea of, bringing that character together. You definitely have your custom shirt there, your Excel on fire. You got the hats. You come to every video with a hat. So I think, that's something that for folks, whether, for me, it's the suit and tie. That's my costume. That's how I know I'm ready to go. I'm ready. If I was sitting here, I know that I could do this in a t-shirt. If you're watching this and you're most comfortable in a t-shirt, but I am not most comfortable in a t-shirt. So this is my most comfortable. This is my most, ready to be on screen. So for somebody that's trying to do this, I think that's a very big help. So getting into that all there, maybe it's putting on your favorite lipstick, if if that's what you're doing, whatever that is, right?
And it's got to be genuine, right? And you reminded me now of when I first started freelancing, and I would put on the blazer and the white shirt and the dress shoes, and I wasn't feeling it, and I know that's the professional thing. But then I took a risk, right, of like showing up in my cowboy boots and maybe a nice pullover shirt instead of a white iron shirt with the blue blazer. Something that I had to feel like I don't know what they are going to show me when I get there. They have an Excel problem, and I might not have an answer right away. I am a cowboy showing up to deal with some stuff that I just know I'm going to be victorious. That's all I know. Whatever it is, I wasn't feeling that in a blue blazer. But when I put on my cowboy boots and maybe even a cowboy hat in Chicago, and maybe they would laugh me out of there. Or maybe they'd say, "Oh, Oz, oh, you're Oz, oh, cowboy hat and everything." Well, we're going to think about what we want. And then they go call somebody else. I was taking a risk.
Yeah.
And it paid off because, again, it's a costume, a uniform, a character that I had to find where I felt empowered versus like this thin performance.
No, that's I think really amazing because I think it impacts me. I mean, I definitely feel it, for folks out there that feel like they have to be the look, right now for a lot of places, you go into Silicon Valley, the look is not a suit and tie, and I would feel uncomfortable. And I think you have to be willing to feel uncomfortable in the sense that you got to be you. And when you are you and you bring that unique thing to it, guess what? you know, when you're fully committed, it may work out well
Right.
because you stand out in the crowd.
Yeah, and there's also a dance, and there's some risk, because what if you is cargo shorts and flip flops?
Mm.
Now that could be like, now you taking a hell of a risk now, really, right? But where can you find it, you know, to where everybody is comfortable?
What I've seen, like if you go back and, you know, I pay attention to Gary Vaynerchuk a lot.
Yes, yes, yes.
Big marketing. And so now, you know, he's on stages and jeans and everything, but if you know, he's shared it, you know, he shares, goes back. He was in a suit and tie when he felt like he had to do that. But now at this point, you don't care what the hell he's dressed in. If he comes to your event, you're excited and you want to, you know, take a picture with this guy. So, you
Right.
know, you can work in your space. There might be a little bit of sacrifice. You may need to play the, you know, get along kind of thing. And then, you know, let the personality shine, because it will be the way that you stand out in the crowd, and finding your passion and joy is certainly, you know, we talk about that. I think we talk about that much more in the professional space now than we used to, but we certainly say that to kids all the time. That's been a big part of the rhetoric we give to kids. But then you get into corporate culture and it's like, no, you got to conform, you know. Well, not
Man,
necessarily.
I have, you know, I have decided that I never, ever in life want to write another resume.
Mm.
Never. And there have been people, headhunters have called me, and I send them to my LinkedIn page. I have been broke, you know, years ago. Projects keep getting pushed back and back and back.
Mm.
I need the money. And then a headhunter will call me. I said, wow. All right. So then I start thinking about a resume. Okay. Hell no. No, I'm not doing this because it feels so degrading. And I know that it's people's reality. And I feel blessed that I am in the situation I'm in, because I hear people talking about resumes and how to be in interviews and stuff. How do you answer, you know, where do you want to be in 5 years? Well, let me give you some tips on how to answer that. I don't want to do that. No, you know, running around paying a dry cleaning bill for a suit to go to interview after interview, and in the hot sun. It feels so degrading to me. So
No, I understand it too.
yeah,
That dehumanizing aspect. I remember going, this is before I started up Toth Event Staffing, but I was working for a medical education company, 2009. I was laid off, you know, financial downturn, a whole lot of trauma. Told my story on the show before. You know, my wife was in Mexico dealing with lots of stuff. And I was in the middle of all that, you know, trauma, you're trying to figure it out, deal with international challenges, loss of job domestically, all that kind of stuff. And I'm going for another medical education company meeting. And I remember part of the job description was a credit check. And I'm like, why do you need to check my credit for me to get this medical education meeting? Like, it was just, oh my goodness. Craig Caruso is checking in when we're posting. He's like,
Craig Caruso.
Yeah. So,
Craig.
You know, I totally, absolutely identify with that. I think that's the beauty, I think, of, you know, being in the now. You know, you got LinkedIn. That resume is a little bit less important. I still, you know, masking resume. I've done 700 interviews over the last 9 years for Toth Event Staffing, for waiters, bartenders, kitchen assistants. So, you know, resumes are a part of the thing. And I don't necessarily need a resume. Just tell me the summary. But, you know, resume is one of those things that's still impressive. I think the whole world is going to change now. I think getting comfortable with this video thing, because a lot more things, especially interviews, are going to be happening via Zoom rather than making people travel all over the place for an interview, right? So I think
you got to think about what's on the shelf behind you and everything, and dogs barking and stuff. Man.
Well, you know, it's tough when, you know, and it's great that you say that, because I think it does lend a challenge, you know, on the income equality kind of thing, kids that are, coming from challenging backgrounds that are trying to, Google Meet and Zoom from home. And, your house, Johnny's house looks, fantastic. And then Alex's house, there's like 3 kids running around in the background and there's some sort of family member in a wife beater, walking by. It's a little bit, it's one of those challenging things, but we're getting to that place where the virtual backgrounds, I use the green screen and all that. So getting comfortable with the technology, because one of the things that from coming from background where we're doing, college and career education at A. Philip Randolph Campus High School, getting into that idea of if you got one suit, that nobody needs to know that. You just show up and that's your thing. So having your game together, your Zoom, virtual, whatever, having that, knowing this is the technology, this is what we're working with right now, and this is the way to make it. I don't want to say fake it till you make it, because I think that's sort of disingenuous, and I don't think people are faking it, but just being able to put that appearance out there, code switch for whatever your environment is versus your where you're going. I think one of the things that we're talking about before we got started was like, you're coming out of the Navy and people didn't know what to do.
Yes, you bring it back. Okay, yeah.
So that I think brings that for a whole segment of this population. Maybe you got in your mind income equality, but you got this whole population. You come out of the military, you have serious experience behind you. You're not necessarily broke, and still, it's tough to find your space.
Yeah, that was a weird time, right? Because I remember getting my first job as a civilian after the Navy, and they seemed to be so lame. They complained about all kind of petty stuff. Somebody was 15 minutes late coming back from their lunch break. Or no, it's your turn to do something. I did it twice already. Then they go run tell the supervisor. And the supervisor comes screams at everybody. And in the Navy, you don't take petty stuff up the chain of command. They'd say 15 minutes. Wait, why are you bothering me with this? And then have a whole bunch of cuss words associated with it. Say, go back, y'all deal with that. Or the question is, what have y'all already done to deal with it? So dealing with coworkers in that situation was weird. And I had to accept that I was the strange one. I'm the one who, spent time in 50-foot seas, throwing up, having to steal work. Yep, I got to go stand my 4-hour watch on the bridge in 50-foot seas, and the ship is rocking, and I got a garbage bag tied to my belt loop that I'm throwing up in, and so do the other people on the bridge.
Right.
And I'm, and dealing with somebody, is driving the ship, and he's got a bag, and he leans over to throw up in it. The whole bridge is smelling like body odor, vomit, and cigarette smoke. And we had work. There ain't no complaining about somebody's 15 minutes. So there was that. And then there was a lot of employers, as much as they talked about, thank you for your service and being pro-veteran and stuff. I learned they had these preconceived notions that we were stiff and demanding. Well, no, there's a lot of sloppy stuff that happens in the military. We're not all standing at attention with crisp shirts on. No. Also, we learned we could hate each other's guts, but still have each other's back. The civilian sector, but we didn't have the option to work with somebody for a few hours and then go home and not think about them. But civilians, all the moaning that they would do, bothered me for a while.
How did you eventually adjust to it? Because you got these different cultures And I
Yeah.
think, in today's, I mean, we still have like, people whine about petty things. I think, maybe one of the good things about COVID is that people are lightening up on, these professional lines when they're not really necessary kind of thing. Like, you're doing a presentation, you're trying to gain some business and everything. Sure, you want to make sure that you're in a place where you don't have the baby walking by, the dog or whatever. But now for like a normal everyday, run-of-the-mill meeting, I think people understand like there's life that actually happens, and we're all dealing with it. So I think those lines are a little bit less crisp, shall we say, which I think is helpful for people in general. I mean, not to go crazy on the little stuff.
So, when you ask how have I dealt with that, I have struggled, and then I have things I complain about, and
everybody, right? Yeah,
right. But more, there's been an issue of being out of place because I joined when I was 20 and then got out when I was 26. So I can say that over that time, I've had top secret security clearance. I've driven a submarine, navigated a submarine, navigated a frigate through the Suez Canal, and had to stay up for 3 days doing it.
Wow.
But I never rented an apartment in that period. Got married, nope. Had kids, nope. Regular day-to-day civilian grind of going to work, getting on a bus to go downtown. That was all foreign to me. And I can't even remember a time when I had just gotten out of the Navy, and I went to a cafe and I brought some pound cake. Right. I had it because I was going to go to get some coffee and I was going to eat the pound cake I had from home. And then the guy points to the sign that says no outside food. I had seen that sign, but I thought it meant that I couldn't buy food inside the cafe and take it outside and eat it in front of the cafe. But no, it means don't bring your pound cake from home. And I genuinely did not know. I figured, I'm going in there and I'm buying stuff. I'm spending money. Now I see is kind of an asshole move, but I genuinely didn't know. So there's all these little things that I didn't get about the civilian world. And then being at that age,
right,
26, picking up my civilian life from when I was 20.
Yeah, it's culture shock. It's
yeah. And then, to go back at 26 to be a full-time college student, and then a graduate student, and then now I'm starting my life by that time I'm in my early 30s, but really I'm about 25. So it's and now that I think about it, freelancing and being independent has been better for me than trying to have kept a job. Right. And the blessing was when there was a layoff in 2008, and I had been with the company 7 years, and I had a really nice severance package when the layoff happened. So that gave me a good launching pad for having to not go back and deal with resumes and try to deal with employers that don't know what to do with veterans.
Yeah, I think there's a big distinction between somebody that, because I've talked to people, they want to work for somebody, like, and it's tough for me to
and that's fine.
Yeah, right. But it's tough, and I get it, because it's tough for me to sometimes understand that, because then I'm sort of like, well, don't you want to call your own shots? Don't you want to make your own, don't you want to have people reporting to you rather than you reporting to somebody? And I think, there's a certain comfort. And I also remember it was nice to get that check and those benefits when I was getting them. So
Yes.
I understand the other side of that as well.
Yeah.
Talk to us about, so you talk about this transitional period in your life. You ended up starting up Datascopic. Is that right?
Well, that was the blog that I had for a few years. Yeah.
All right. So tell us about that transition, because obviously there was a big transition. You're working for other folks, and then suddenly you're starting up, the blog. You
Right.
started up Excel on Fire like 2013, I think is what I see here.
Around there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's some serious foresight to be in that space and working in that space.
So I decided that after the layoff, I didn't want to go back to a regular job. So I needed a web presence. So I put up a website, and my very first blog posts were just straight. Here's how you do something in Excel. What is the double unary in Excel? Okay, here's a blog post about it. But as I did more blogging, it helped me uncover what I gave a damn about and what I saw in the world. What can I add to the world other than another damn VLOOKUP blog post? Well, what I saw when I was working in the job and when I worked with clients and with students, context is missing. So my blogs started to deal with more real world context. How can you use Excel in reality? What are things that come up around it? So I talked a lot about cleaning data in that blog. And the failing that when, say, somebody goes to study marketing, they will learn to analyze data, and that data will be clean. But I dealt with folks who they will get that marketing degree and get out into the real world, and the data is crap. It's full of duplicates. It's in multiple places that you can't just stack them on top of each other. No, you got to split this field apart. And then this data over here has a field that's not in any other sources. So do I want to keep it, or where do I want to put it so that I can get it all stacked up and deduped? What about partial text? Like you got a first name and a last name field and a middle initial field, but then here is a record that just says Melvin. Where's the initial or the last name? Okay, so now what do we do with that? And if we want to do a count, we got to do a count on the column that has Melvin in it and not the blank cell, right? So all of those things. And I talk about the consequences. What happens when you do analysis and then find out the data is bad? Now you got a problem, and you might go to jail. Or when the forensic accountants show up, they're trying to figure out if you're incompetent, lazy, or shady.
Yeah.
See, yeah. So that's the kind of stuff that blogging helped me to figure out. That's what I was passionate about. Adding something to the world, showing people that VLOOKUP is easy, but if you're doing it on crap data and then you wind up with some crap results and the forensic accountants show up, now you got to deal with that.
You don't want to be working off of of bad data or vanity metrics or
right. And so so I did the blog for about 5 years, and I really enjoyed it, but I did not like working with WordPress.
Yeah, I never could get into WordPress. I tried it out, and it wasn't my thing.
Well, and for me is I don't like coding. And as much as in the early days,
Which
WordPress was
might be a
touted.
surprise to folks that we're watching your content because you're a numbers guy, and it's a lot of coding is a lot of the language and all that, but it's not exactly the same thing. Absolutely.
No, it's not. So by running a blog, I had to learn more about HTML and CSS than I really wanted to. And so that's how eventually I switched over to doing video, because I don't have to deal with the code behind Camtasia or what happens if YouTube crashes on me. No, somebody else deals with that.
Absolutely. So talk to us about, because you actually have, you absolutely have this character, the hats. Talk to us about how this personality developed and how you've built this audience up.
My first Excel videos on YouTube were dry, straightforward, and it was not fun for me. So I figured, and I would always talk with folks who said they needed to know more about Excel, but the videos were so dry. Oh, they made me crazy. And so I figured I am going to be the guy who offers a little candy with the Excel.
Mm.
Let's have some fun, all of us, me included. So I think it was the video where I put a picture of a snowman. That was me stepping out and saying, I'm not doing no more dry videos. That's somebody else's bag. There's a whole bunch of people doing that. And that's not going to be me. And that's come with risks, right? Because I know that not everybody wants to watch my mini movies. And that's fine. It's fine, because I love the audience that has come up around me. And when I have done something, like I listen to somebody who says, okay, let's change your videos up a bit to this template that is known for this formula that's known for getting subscribers. Then I try it a couple of times, and then my audience says, we hate this, boo. And they show up with pitchforks and torches and things. And I say, you know what? I hated doing it. So thank you. Thank you for showing up with your pitchforks and torches. Go back and put them down, because we're going back to what we were doing. And to hell with this person who gave me this advice. But it also means, yeah, I feel kind of like a jazz musician. I'm not going to ever play the big arenas. I'm not the Rolling Stones. I'm more, maybe Keith Jarrett. you know?
I'm just gonna, while you're talking, I'll play along. I think I have a merging data with the 6 joins in Power Query. So I'll play this silently in the background while you keep going. But I'd love you to talk about what the journey has been like. I've started on this journey, so it's particularly interesting to me. But for those that want to get into doing video for their business, understanding that obviously it doesn't start out with 21,000 subscribers, right? It starts out with 1 and 2, and then maybe you get up to 100, and then it's right. It's a slow rise, but eventually you'll get there. The consistency, I think, is always what I talk about being the most important thing. So talk to us about what that journey has been like. Obviously you're appreciating the feedback and responding to that. So talk to me about like what it's been like to sort of, you're building the followers, you're struggling with it.
I think about this a lot, and a frustration is in telling people how to do this, because a lot of things, even my Excel skill, I didn't go looking for this, but I embraced it. A lot of things happened at the right time, and I was prepared. But when I'm asked, how did I get here? I've got to go back to the early days of learning a whole lot of Excel, seeing a lot of Excel over a long period of time to where I can see similarities across situations and then unique differences in individual situations. Then there was the layoff with the nice severance package where I could focus on developing a website and experimenting with a brand. Uh, then getting noticed and having projects along the way and fighting through periods of being flat broke and thinking I need to go get a job and leave this alone, but saying, no, I'm doing this. It's been a lot, and then taking the risk of doing the videos like I do them, and then having, being contacted by LinkedIn, based on my YouTube channel.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And, and in there that year at Second City, I cannot diminish the value that provided. About, taking on a character fully, owning it, being present, being in charge of the situation, playing, not trying too hard. Because the one thing they say when we sign up for our first classes at Second City, there is an orientation, and they constantly repeat, don't try to be funny. The funny will come. And sometimes, or a lot of times in a scene, I'm not the funny one, but I have to be a partner with the person who is funny. So I've got to play that role. All of that has helped in when I teach and when I do my videos. So how does somebody get to do what I'm doing? It's been all of that, all of it. But more practically, if somebody wanted to do YouTube, you start doing it. Just like my very first dry ass videos that I did, right? And then they slowly evolve into more fun and more theatrics and more imagination. But there's a point I wanted to make.
And this is
taking risks. Took a lot of risks. And being okay with the consequences. Listening to my audience, but also with video, it can be as simple or as complex as you want, right? So you make a VLOOKUP video and then post it. All right. But what do you do with the mistakes? Do you edit them out? Do you re-record? So now you got to deal with all of that. And it's not just good enough to be able to know VLOOKUP and show it on a video, but now what about the performance piece? And each of my videos, they take a minimum of 8 hours to make. And sometimes it wind up being a 4.5-minute video that I've put 15 hours into.
That's crazy.
And so I say that because it's not for everybody. My friend Ken Poole's another Excel MVP, not a big fan of video, and he's told me that. He prefers the writing and the blog. He can scroll through and see where a blog is going, how long it is, but a video, he's not comfortable with that. I prefer video. I don't like reading blogs. I sit here and in front of these two 40-inch monitors all day reading stuff. Yeah, I want to minimize the stuff I read at this point. Give me a video where I can just sit back and watch what's happening. So
awesome.
Yeah, but
I've been
what can I add? So for video, if somebody was to want to do YouTube, a big thing is the consistency.
Thank
you know, and pacing things out. If you got 3 great ideas, you know, don't post them all in one day. If you don't have 3 a day to do for a while, right? Pace them out. Think about maybe once a week, but some kind of consistency that builds what you have in your library. That begins to build an audience, and also don't be afraid to change from what you started with, because it will change, right? Embrace it. You know, the audience will start giving you feedback, and that's one benefit of just starting, because the audience can then start to give you feedback about what you're doing. You know, don't wait until you got 15 things to post all at once. Start maybe post 2 or 3, start getting the feedback and adjust 4, 5, 6, 7, and you know, there you go.
No, that's amazing advice. I think that those are things that people can really rock out on. Before I was showing the actual LinkedIn course, it's really fantastic for those that have not checked it out. Check out the YouTube channel, check out the LinkedIn course. How can people get in touch with you if they want to get in touch with you, Oz?
Through my LinkedIn profile. I
have
spend a lot.
I have that down below on YouTube
All right,
and
beautiful.
on the side on Facebook, so that they can connect with on LinkedIn.
Yep. So I spend more of my time on LinkedIn, and you know, that's the best way to contact me. I quit Facebook, and my mental health is a whole lot better. Yeah. And I spend a lot of time at the YouTube channel, but for general contact, LinkedIn is best.
That's awesome. I really want to thank you for joining me and giving us so much great information today. I think that folks that potentially didn't know you before, that are going to go and check out your channel, specifically for Excel stuff, but also for, you know, just a great example, a great mentor to sort of take what you do, whatever that is in the world, and run with it. And you know that there's an audience for it. But certainly, if you need to combine some names or split some names apart, if you're on that basic level of Excel like I usually am, or need to put together some more complicated queries or formulas, Oz is your man. Go and check him out. He's really good at what he's doing, and the LinkedIn learning is something that I've just been. It's something I don't, and this is a testament. I don't spend a lot of time in the classes because I don't think that all of them have a lot of value. Paid attention to yours, made it through a class. So really, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really, really well done. I want to give you the final word and say goodbye to everybody. And so tell everybody again the channels that they can find you on, and we'll leave it there. I'll head off with the BizDev channel and then just hang around. I'd love to thank you before we go.
All right, Cameron, thanks a lot for being here. Thank you for the audience for listening. My word is keep your data clean, right? and be genuine. Thank you.
BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T.